The feud between Donald Trump and Jimmy Kimmel is heating up after the late-night host blasted the president with foul language during his guest appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Donald Trump just launched a massive new conspiracy theory against one of America's most famous comedians. In his rage, he accidentally just proved that Jimmy Kimmel was 100% right about him all along. So let's find out what the truth is. In the intricate and often contentious relationship between the American presidency and the press, a new chapter unfolded this week, one that underscores the persistent tensions surrounding free speech and the perceived use of governmental power. The incident began when late-night host Jimmy Kimmel returned to his ABC studio following a historic industry-wide work stoppage. Taping his monologue on Tuesday, Kimmel offered a prescient warning, suggesting that the simple act of restoring his program to the air would, in his words, unfortunately and unjustly, expose his network to renewed pressure from government entities. In a striking demonstration of life-imitating art, former President Donald Trump validated that very concern within the hour, issuing a new and confrontational statement on his Truth Social platform just before the monologue was broadcast to the nation. The former president's message was a study in contrasts, weaving between personal dismissal and institutional intimidation. He asserted that Kimmel's audience is gone, a claim starkly at odds with the program's established viewership, before pivoting to a more ominous tone. Trump labeled the comedian's content as 99% positive Democrat garbage, accusing him of being an arm of the Democratic National Committee. The core of the threat, however, lay in the assertion that this constituted a major illegal campaign contribution, concluding with a challenge. "I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do." This legal threat, which experts note lacks a clear foundation in existing campaign finance law, was directed at a network that has thus far maintained a public silence in response. While this specific legal ultimatum may fade from the headlines, it stands as a clear example of a recurrent theme: a president leveraging the perception of his governmental influence to pressure a privately owned media company over its editorial content. The underlying motivation appears particularly pointed, stemming from an aversion to the relentless nightly criticism that defines the late-night television landscape. Yet this strategy of applying pressure seems to have produced an unintended and powerful consequence. Rather than diminishing Jimmy Kimmel's platform, the recent attention from a Trump administration official involved in broadcast licensing has, at least in the immediate term, significantly amplified his voice. While traditional television ratings for Tuesday's broadcast are still pending, the digital arena tells a compelling story. Kimmel's monologue, an eloquent and emotionally charged defense of free speech delivered upon his return, has resonated with a vast online audience. The video has been viewed more than 15 million times on YouTube, a staggering number that has secured its place as the most watched monologue in the history of his show's channel. This surge of public engagement suggests that attempts to quiet a critical voice can, in the modern media ecosystem, have the opposite effect, granting the intended message a reach and resonance far beyond its original broadcast. In a deliberate and symbolic act of defiance, late-night television host Jimmy Kimmel returned to his ABC studio this week, transforming his platform into a stage for a broader conversation about free speech and resilience in the face of external pressure. With the cloud of recent political threats still looming, Kimmel meticulously prepared his audience for what he framed as a continued grudge match, directly assailing former President Donald Trump's attacks on media criticism as fundamentally un-American. To cement this point, he reached into the rich history of his own profession, borrowing a legendary line from Jack Paar, the second host of The Tonight Show. In 1960, Paar famously quit his show for nearly a month in a principal dispute with network censors, and upon his dramatic return, he opened his monologue with the dry, defiant remark, "As I was saying before, I was interrupted." More than 6 decades later, Kimmel echoed this piece of broadcast history verbatim, using the same powerful words to open his own monologue, and signal his resurgence. This was far more than a simple homage. It was a strategic masterstroke in political theater. As noted by late-night television analyst Jed Rosenzweig, by invoking Parr's iconic comeback, Kimmel intentionally placed his own recent absence from the airwaves within a proud lineage of late-night defiance. The move was calculated to reframe the entire narrative. Rather than presenting his time off the air as a period of punishment or concession, Kimmel repositioned it as merely a temporary interruption, a pause in an ongoing dialogue with his audience that he, not any external force, was now decisively resuming. This rhetorical pivot served to reclaim his authority and diminish the impact of the political pressure campaign aimed at silencing his critical voice. For the moment, and likely much to the chagrin of his most prominent critic, Jimmy Kimmel managed to secure the last laugh, demonstrating that in the complex battle between political intimidation and media pushback, a well-timed historical reference can sometimes be the most powerful weapon. However, beef between Trump and Kimmel goes back in time. The segment was equal parts hilarious and biting, with Kimmel's commentary sparking chatter about the state of the Trump's marriage and whether Melania's famously icy demeanor toward her husband is more than just a public act. Whether it's typos, snoring, or sleeping arrangements, Kimmel proved once again that no topic is off-limits when it comes to roasting Donald Trump, and the former president's notoriously thin skin ensures this feud is far from over. Needless to say, Trump didn't take kindly to Kimmel's remarks. Sources close to the former president say he was fuming after the segment aired, reportedly ranting about fake comedians and vowing to hit back harder than ever. But let's be honest, when has Trump ever been able to resist a public feud? Whether he'll actually respond or just stew in Mar-a-Lago remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, and that is Jimmy Kimmel just made himself enemy number one in Trump's book. And if the rumors about Melania's side-eye are true, he might not be the only one. Donald Trump's social media tirades against Jimmy Kimmel were nothing short of dramatic, as he repeatedly called the late-night host unfunny, dismissed his ratings, and accused him of political bias. But Kimmel, never one to back down, quickly turned the tables by exposing an awkward truth. Trump's claims about the show's declining viewership were completely false. In fact, Kimmel's ratings had actually increased that year, a fact he gleefully highlighted on air. As the show unfolded, Kimmel couldn't resist imagining Trump's reaction in real time, painting a hilarious picture of the former president frantically scrolling through his phone, firing off rage-filled tweets, and yelling at his staff. The absurdity of a former commander-in-chief being so consumed by late-night comedy rather than addressing actual issues only added to the comedic gold. Things took an even stranger turn when Trump made a vague and desperate-sounding threat to expose Kimmel's secrets. The threat was instantly mocked, with Kimmel joking, "What does he think he knows about me? That I have a secret crush on puppies? That I'm in favor of free speech?" The entire exchange only reinforced Kimmel's point that Trump lacks a sense of humor and can't take a joke. The idea that a former president would resort to threatening a comedian with baseless accusations was both bizarre and laughable, further cementing Kimmel's reputation as a master of turning Trump's tantrums into comedy. The feud, while entertaining, also highlighted Trump's inability to handle criticism, especially when it comes from someone who knows how to wield humor as a weapon. Jimmy Kimmel couldn't resist diving into yet another bizarre quirk of Donald Trump's public persona, his apparent fear of stairs. For years, videos of Trump cautiously navigating staircases or ramps have gone viral, sparking speculation that he's either physically unsteady or downright terrified of taking a tumble. Kimmel seized on this oddity, exaggerating it for comedic effect, by suggesting that Trump goes out of his way to avoid stairs altogether. He even imagined a fictional scenario where Trump, in a fit of frustration, tries to prove his stair-climbing abilities by angrily typing on his phone while gripping a railing for dear life, all in an effort to show he can descend stairs like a regular person. So, after all this, Trump thinks it's Jimmy's new conspiracy against him to make him look evil to the public. Share your respectful perspectives in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the stories behind the news, make sure to subscribe.